Thanks for joining us on Relational Practice, a social work podcast. I'm Dr. Jodie Park.
I'm Rose Mackey.
We're both private practice social workers here in New South Wales, Australia, working in the fields of child protection, out-of-home care and trauma.
And today we're recording on the beautiful Dharawal land.
Yes, we are. The nice warm.
It's so hot here in Dharawal land, Dharawal country.
And very hot. It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
As always, we'd love for you to follow our podcast and connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and via our new YouTube page. We'll be adding content and videos to all the platforms regularly. Can I just say thank you for listening to us? New listeners, thank you for trying us, and I hope you come back. And old listeners, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for hanging around.
Do you want me to do this bit? And please send us any practice stories, questions, or comments to relationalpractice01@gmail.com.
Perfect.
All right. Today we are going to dedicate the full episode to probably, one of the most critical and misunderstood dynamics in domestic violence, would you say?
Yeah, I would agree.
I'd say becoming more understood. Yeah?
Yep.
But yeah, definitely misunderstood. We're going to talk about coercive control. This is a concept that really has deepened our understanding of abuse, moving the focus from isolated incidents of physical violence to the overarching pattern of domination that destroys a victim's freedom and sense of self. Yeah.
Well said.
We're going to do a little bit of reading today just because we don't want to miss anything, and we've got lots of good information that we want to share. But as we normally do, we'll also do some kind of random chatting and relate it back to practice. Yep.
Yeah.
So we wanted to mention the 16 Days of Activism, which is a global campaign against gender-based violence that runs annually from November 25th, which coincides with the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, until December 10th, which is Human
Rights Day.
Human Rights Day?
Day. It's a typo.
Okay. I was thinking, what does that mean? Yeah, which is Human Rights Day. We do this to raise awareness, advocate for change, and promote action to end violence against women and girls. The 16 Days of Activism started in 1991, and the campaign is supported by organisations including UN Women and promotes resources like 1-800-RESPECT for those experiencing or at risk of domestic, family, or sexual violence. Rose and I strongly support this campaign. The theme for 2025 is Unite to End Digital Violence Against All Women and Girls, which highlights online abuse as a form of violence. And I was really lucky enough to be asked to be on a panel.
Yeah.
For the Illawarra 16 days of
activism.
Yeah, 16 Days of Activism. So for the little demonstration that happened here, it was kind of like a demonstration. It was also like a presentation.
Advocacy.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and I'm very thankful to be asked to have been on that expert panel. I am no way an expert in this field, and I needed to make that clear. But thank you, and thank you to Jackie for inviting me.
Can I ask what? Obviously, the panel was about domestic violence, or was it about coercive control?
It was about coercive control.
Okay.
Yeah. And the panel consisted of, me coming from that kind of social work view. There was this amazing Aboriginal man who was talking about the programs that he runs with men.
Okay.
Around more than just taking responsibility, more about recognising and kind of trying to change the cycle of violence. There was someone from Legal Aid there, the person who manages the Legal Aid office in the Illawarra, and there was somebody there who was the CEO from one of the not homeless housing organisations that we have in the Illawarra.
And so then who was listening to the panel?
So lots of workers, lots of people, like more people than I was thinking.
I bet you loved that then.
I loved it so much. Lots of workers from lots of different organisations. I saw people there from child protection. I saw people from lots of housing organisations that work with women and children primarily. Police were there. Obviously, there were people that work with men around changing some of those kind of attitudes around violence. Probably lots of other people that I'm just not including.
Amazing.
It was great. It was a great event, and I think the Zonta people, who are the people that put it on for our area, should be really proud because it was a great event.
Yeah, amazing. So we are still in the 16 days of activism as we're recording this, which is why it's a really, really good timing for us to talk about coercive control.
Yeah. And I was reflecting on this because, we were obviously going to talk about this, but I was reflecting about how I wish I knew now. I wish I knew then what I know now.
Oh, I think that all the time, Jodie.
Same.
I look back at the last, say, 20 years even, 25 years of practice.
Yeah.
And I just really wish I had the information I have now back then, because I would have done so many things differently.
Absolutely.
I have so many regrets.
Yeah, same.
Personally and professionally.
Yeah.
About the way I treated victim survivors of domestic violence.
Well, it was just this, we just didn't understand, did we? And there was just this prevailing view that made women responsible for the actions of men. And it was, in so many ways, men were like this, they were the perpetrators, they were the problem, but they were the invisible person in this relationship. And you worked with the women and you worked with the children. And in effect, it made them responsible. When I think back now to some of that practice, I think just how it just continued to abuse these women.
Well, consciously or not, the perpetrators were weaponizing us in their violence cycle.
Yes. And how many times did you have a call from a father, this phantom father, who would suddenly ring you when they had a fight and tell you spill all this stuff about what the woman was doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing about what they were doing.
Nothing at all.
And then the next minute he'd obviously got her back under his control again. And suddenly, they were this united front. And it was so confusing as a worker because I just didn't understand what was happening.
Yeah. Even, I think, also didn't understand what was happening. And then the pattern of ending the relationship, I never understood exactly how dangerous that period was, the post-separation period was for women and children.
Yeah.
And then the cycle where they would get back together. Yeah. And even that confusion and, coming from a child protection lens at that point in time, obviously domestic and family violence is not, where children need to be raised. They don't know.
No.
They experience it. There's new research actually that highlights the emotional abuse that comes as a kind of, and I'll talk about it a bit later, but that's part of the domestic violence, and then the impact it has on their mental health in young adulthood and adulthood later. So much research about that then. Now, we maybe didn't know that then, but we knew children being raised in homes where domestic violence was occurring wasn't safe for them. Yeah. But I would, it was always a woman's responsibility. Always. And when she got back with the partner, it was so confusing and maddening. And that's it, isn't it? Like 3 chances, a really black and white approach that I can think of. I took in my, earlier career so many times.
Yeah. Oh, of course, because that kind of was the way practice was.
Well, I hope it is the way practice was, and I hope it's not how practice is now.
Same. Yeah, absolutely. But I wonder about that, because we know that in a lot of situations, practice is so socially constructed, isn't it?
It is.
Do you know what I mean? And I think we still have a kind of social view of domestic violence as being a problem that happens to them, not to us, and a problem that we do not really want to get involved in unless we have to.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then if we are going to get involved, I still have the apprehension around how am I going to be, remain impartial. I don't want to become complicit in the coercive control. There are so many things that run through your head, and you just hope I'm doing this that is supportive and advocating of the victim survivors and of, that broader family system. Yeah. But if you think about the tactics that perpetrators use, and they are so damn good
So good.
at coercion, at grooming, at, justifying, at blaming, at minimizing, all of that.
Yeah.
You have to actually be so skilled to be in this area and to do it well, I think.
I agree with you. I agree. Let's define what coercive control is, because it kind of goes on from what you said.
Okay.
And just a very quick definition, coercive control is a systematic pattern of behavior that is intended to control somebody else and also to really erode their human rights, really.
Yeah.
It's about taking that sense of autonomy away. And it's about making sure the perpetrator is in control of every single aspect of a person's life.
Every domain of that person's life, they are in control of.
Yeah.
Or dismantling or isolating them from.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's right, because it's all part of it.
Yeah.
It's about having to be the boss, effectively, in the relationship at all times, and having this person who is submissive.
Yes, I was going to say, and then never taking accountability when things go wrong.
Never.
That's the other key thing.
Yeah.
Always projected onto the victim survivor.
And very, very skillful, which is what you said already, at weaponizing the supports the person might have around them, the victim survivor, weaponizing those supports against the victim survivor.
Yeah.
Very good at it.
So clever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so clever. So when I guess we were preparing for this, I was kind of like, it's 2025. And here we still are talking about gendered violence. And this is a passion topic, I think, for both of us. But it made me think, why in 2025 are we still having to have this worldwide campaign that talks about gendered violence? And I guess one of the things that really shocked me in our lifetimes, so in 1993, violence against women was formally recognised as a violation of human rights.
So 32 years ago.
Only 32 years has the world recognised that, violence against women is a violation of their human rights. Yeah. Isn't that mind-blowing?
Yeah. Well, yeah, when you consider violence against women has been around probably for as long as people have been around.
We look at the stories of them burning witches. They were burning women. Why were they burning women? It wasn't because there was some magic going on.
Or, 1940s, 50s, 60s, or women who were put into mental health institutions because maybe they were too moody. Maybe they were having feelings.
Hysterical.
Yeah.
Hysterical. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It is, when you think about it in that context, only 32 years young. Mm-hmm. Are we into understanding that violence against women is a violation of our rights?
Well, and I'm just going to say one other thing. I mean, we're still in a situation globally, aren't we, where women are treated so badly and so poorly in societies where you would expect them to have some rights. And I'm kind of thinking about all of the changes, and I'm not an expert in this, I know a tiny little bit, but all the changes in America against, what women can actually do with their bodies.
Yeah,
like
bodily autonomy.
Insane. Isn't that insane?
Even I have seen pictures recently, and again, I'm not an expert in this, but of traditional dress and costumes for women in some parts of the world versus what they wear today. And it's shown how women's rights have actually been trampled on.
Yeah.
And so what their traditional costume or dress used to look like was, very vibrant and colourful and absolutely very, very different to what it is today. And I think even in since the 70s, where there was a level of women having some rights in certain parts of the world, that's been just like America, trampled on, taken back, dismantled.
It's completely insane, and it's terrifying.
It is terrifying. And I think it links back to the episode we did a few ago where we talked about family law court, and then it became kind of critical reflection and about the patriarchy and the systems and how the systems don't protect us. And I think when you pull all of these big picture themes together about gendered violence or not every human having autonomy over their body or their medical decisions, it's pretty easy to see where the concern is.
Well, I mean, and, going back to how we started this conversation when we were talking about our practice within that very big child protection system, and how really reflecting back now, we actually made decisions that actually continued the trauma.
Absolutely, we did.
For those women that we worked with at that time.
Yep.
Who didn't respond to situations in a way that we deemed appropriate.
Safe enough, protective enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So appropriate. So we were putting this value judgment, we were putting this legal judgment, we were putting all this
context
pressure,
of the day.
That's right. All this responsibility onto this person who was already being so victimized.
Yeah.
And we didn't know.
No, we were just part of the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Doing their job. So this is a gendered discussion, and it's a gendered discussion because females are disproportionately the victims of intimate partner and domestic homicide around the world. A United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime report on homicide estimated that globally, while 81% of all homicide victims were male, 82% of intimate partner homicide victims were female, and 64% of intimate partner family-related homicide victims were female. This is data from 2017.
Wow.
Last year, in 2024, 83,000 women and girls were intentionally killed around the world, and more than 60% of these girls and women were murdered at the hands of partners or relatives.
So it's just terrible, isn't it?
It's just terrifying. That's one woman or girl every 10 minutes, or 137 of us each and every day. 11% of male homicides were perpetrated by intimate partners or family members.
Yeah.
That source is from the ABC. What I couldn't find is of the 11% of male homicides, how many were perpetrated by male versus female.
Right. Okay.
But, 83,000 women and girls last year.
That's 83,000 lives that were lost. And then you think about the links they had to, people who loved them.
Love them. Yeah.
It's really sad.
This is a worldwide gendered problem.
It really is.
Yeah. The White Ribbon Organisation reports that family violence and intimate partner violence is a leading cause of serious injury, disability and death for women in Australia. And on average in Australia, a woman is killed every week by her intimate male partner.
Wow.
So I just want to talk about some research that's just been done by the University of Queensland, which is really fascinating to me because I think it gives us the evidence of what we've always known. So the Australian Child Maltreatment Study has then broken off into two studies, as I understand it. So there's childhood domestic violence and then the mental disorders in adulthood studies.
Right.
And what they've found, and this is by asking participants 16 years and older, of their own account of their childhood as they experience domestic violence. This study has found that children's experience of domestic violence is commonly framed in the context of physical violence.
Yeah.
However, this research highlights how parental coercive control plays a critical role in shaping long-term well-being of these children.
It's psychological harm at its worst.
At its worst.
Makes so much sense.
Yes. So children who experience domestic violence involving intimidation and control are almost 4.5 times more likely to also be emotionally abused by that caregiver during their childhood. And they're twice as likely to develop mental illness in adulthood.
Makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense, and I think it's what we've always known, but now we have the data to back it up.
It just really increases just the state of the problem, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? And increases that generational cycle of disadvantage, I guess. Disadvantage, not the right word. Vulnerability, just trauma, just generational trauma.
And then think about all the intersections: housing, health, mental health, employment, drug and alcohol, corrective services or criminal justice, child protection, homelessness. Like you think about all of those intersecting domains of practice, fields of practice.
Yeah.
you'd be hard pressed, I would suggest, to find a social worker, welfare worker, psychologist, practitioner that doesn't have clients who are experiencing or are perpetrators of domestic and family violence and using coercive control.
I completely agree. And it says to me that all of the campaigns that have happened to date really are not working.
I so agree with you. And let me tell you a really recent example here in Australia. In February of 2020 in Queensland, a mother, Hannah Clark, and her children were murdered by the children's father. And there's been an inquest into, I guess, the actions of the Queensland police recently. And what has emerged from that inquest is a video, so body-worn footage from the police officers who were serving this man his ABO on December 29, 2019. This video is so disturbing, and it's disturbing for the content, but it's also disturbing that the outcome of the inquest didn't actually link this video and the concerns of those two male police officers to anything that the police force needed to do to adjust or train or consider how they actually interact with perpetrators. So in the video, you can see the police officers agreeing that women make up domestic violence allegations.
No, really?
You can see them giving him advice on how he can fight the ABO in court by getting character references.
Wow.
And then at some point during the discussion, the body-worn footage is turned off.
And so in the inquest, that wasn't something that was...
It wasn't raised as a concern for how Queensland police work with perpetrators or believe victims of domestic violence. No, it's been raised by The Guardian. The Guardian are doing an amazing job of covering this, but the actual inquest, from what I have read, has not highlighted the conduct of these two officers and the impact that their actions and their lack of understanding may have had on this situation.
Can you just quickly define what The Guardian is?
The Guardian is a it's journalism, I guess, and they report in Australia on lots of matters that would concern practitioners, and I think do a very decent job of getting factual information. Yeah. Like they had requested the police video something like 2 years ago. They've been waiting for this. Following the inquest, they are investigating and reporting.
So in 2019, you've got police officers having this conversation with a perpetrator of domestic
violence as he has one of his children on his lap.
Wow.
And what makes it even, more alarming is months earlier, this man had absconded with one of the children against family law court orders.
Yeah.
And the Queensland police didn't help Hannah. It was a child custody dispute, not a police matter. So less than 2 months later, he set her and his children alight.
That's right.
In a car in Queensland.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Queensland police come out, and what do they say in the media?
Tell me.
They victim blame.
What did they actually say?
So said they were investigating the veracity and the motive of the allegations of domestic violence and coercive control. He killed himself. He was dead. Her and her children are dead.
Yeah.
How are we talking about allegations?
Yeah.
In this inquest, hundreds of pages of text messages between Hannah and a senior constable were submitted, and then they were released to The Guardian, and they show repeatedly that Hannah was making disclosures about non-lethal strangulation, stalking, suspected child grooming in the months leading up to her death.
Yeah.
This is, what are we in, 2025? This is why it is so important that we actually talk about family and domestic violence. We understand coercive control.
Yeah.
And by we, I mean anyone. Police, corrections, drug and alcohol, homeless services.
Yeah.
All of us, we need to do such a better job at supporting victims, not aligning with perpetrators, not dismissing it as hysterical women making claims, making allegations.
I think we have to, I think all of those systems you just mentioned need to get better at actually piecing together the puzzle and actually looking at the red flags.
Yes.
And doing some, because not all women would know that they're in a relationship that is characterized by, coercive control. Well, let me reframe that. Not all women would know that they're in a violent relationship. They would just think, I am at fault. This is my problem. Yep. This is a really nice man. And yes, he has some bad days where he might say things to me that I don't like, or he might do things to me that I don't like. But generally speaking, he's a good dad and he's a good father and he's a good husband. It's my fault. I need to do better.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's what coercive control does. It makes you question your own sanity. It makes you, because of the gaslighting that occurs, it makes you think there is definitely something wrong with you.
And it erodes your self-esteem, your sense of self, your sense of belonging.
Yeah.
It erodes so many of your life values that you are, kind of then left dependent on this person because they know better. They can do better. They're more capable. They're more knowledgeable. They have the answers. Yeah. And you actually then can't make decisions or take action because you need that approval or the say-so.
One of the biggest things, though, in terms of coercive control is that the cycle of violence, where normally we would think the cycle of violence, you would have the kind of good times and everyone would be walking
the honeymoon period.
But in coercive control, you still have that. But from what people have told me in practice, but also from research, it looks a little different because those good times are amazing. And it becomes almost like, people have talked to me, and I've actually had 2 clients in the last 2 weeks talk about this. It becomes almost like a drug. You want that good time because that good time is so amazing. Yeah. And so then you are trying to recreate that good time because everyone's just so much calmer during that time. And this is the person that bombed you at the beginning of your relationship. This is the person you fell in love with. Yes. They're back for a very brief period of time. But what we know about coercive control is that it's so intentional, having a good time, because then when the bad times happen, do you know what I mean? The victim actually is trying to recreate the good time, so they kind of dismiss the bad time.
Yes. And I've been told by a lot of clients too that often perpetrators then weaponize the good times too, and it ended because it's now your fault.
Yes.
You ruined the family holiday. You ruined this picnic. You ruined this outing. You did this. You did that. You're to blame for ruining this amazing feeling.
And then you kind of, you've got this perpetrator of violence who is systematically eroding the sense of self and worth of the victim survivor. But then you've got, perhaps narcissistic personality traits or maybe a diagnosis for the perpetrator. But I'm not saying that everybody who perpetrates family violence has narcissistic personality disorder, because that's not true. But there are some traits, aren't there? There is some traits in terms of me having to be the priority, of me being in charge of everyone, of the whole world evolving around me, and we all have to see it my way. I mean, they're classic narcissistic traits. So then you kind of, you put those traits on top of the relationship, which basically means that anything positive for that victim survivor is going to be eroded, and there's going to be a fight or a drama, so that the attention always goes back to the perpetrator.
Yeah.
It's horrendous. And imagine living in that environment. You
day in, day out, just hour by hour, minute by minute. This is not something that is like intermittent. It's not something that's situational. It's not something that's occasional. This is every minute of every day, every week, every month, every year.
It's like a systematic campaign to erode the well-being of somebody else.
Yes. Just dismantle everything about their being.
Yeah. And usually the children are dragged in and weaponized against the victim survivor when it's convenient.
Yes. And so let's talk about how then, we touched on this 2 episodes ago, but there's been a report done by the Right to Equality in the United Kingdom very recently, and they did some research into where children lived before family law court proceedings, and they found that 81.3% of children live with their mothers before family law court proceedings. Guess how many live with their mothers after?
How many? I don't even want to say it. How many?
Just 30%. So 69.4% at the end live with their fathers. in comparison to 2.3% who lived with their fathers before family law court proceedings.
Sorry, where was this again?
In the United Kingdom.
And when was it? 2019?
No, this was 2024.
I don't understand that at all.
Well, this is about how we weaponize the court systems, and we still, as a society, are in this patriarchal system where we are making decisions about where children live, and we are prioritizing the voice of men, and oftentimes men are the ones killing us. They're the ones perpetrating violence. So you go, and there's so much information about women who are fearful of bringing about family law court proceedings because they think they're going to lose their children. Well, there's evidence that that actually is what happens.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'm so shocked. And I shouldn't be shocked because we've talked about this a lot, but I just think
How are you shocked when police officers are telling a man in 2019 that women make up allegations of domestic violence? Police officers that are meant to protect vulnerable citizens in every fucking state and territory in this country are telling a perpetrator who they knew was a perpetrator. The police had evidence of all of Hannah's text messages of telling them about her being strangled, about the control, and they still stand there and tell him, you'll get some character references. You can fight this.
I think I'm shocked because I forget how messed up it is. I do. And because I think we've come so far, and then statistics like that remind me that we haven't.
We haven't.
That we really haven't.
83,000 women and girls were murdered last year. We have not come far enough.
We have definitely not come far enough. And I know that. But, I like to be a little Pollyanna about life.
I mean, and it's not a bad strategy, is it? It's probably better than being very pessimistic.
I'm usually pessimistic, but I like to think that we have evolved as a society. And then when I'm shown evidence, which happens bloody almost daily, that we haven't, I feel sad about it. Yeah. I do. I feel sad about it. I think that's just not okay, and we need to do better.
Well, here's a country that's doing a bit better, in my opinion. Let's talk about Italy.
I'd love to.
Kudos to you guys over there in Italy. Do you know what Italy have just done?
What?
Introduced femicide.
Amazing.
So this is a standalone criminal offence that's gender-based in power and control or hatred, and it's distinct from homicide, and it's punishable by life in prison. So femicide is rooted in misogynistic motives, control, dominance or coercion, rejection of a relationship, and is gender-based hatred.
It's amazing.
Go Italy.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. And I wonder, Italy has a female prime minister? I gotta wonder.
Yeah.
Also, just as a curiosity, interesting little fact, Italy are looking at chemical castration for sex offenders.
Wow.
Yeah. So there is some hope that maybe there is something happening that's different, that's going to look at this gender-based violence seriously and make some different laws and actually act accordingly.
Yeah. I mean, honestly. I'm still just so sad about that last statistic. I can't believe that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you know in Mexico they also have a female, I don't know if it's a president or a prime minister.
Head of state.
Head of state. We have a prime minister here in Australia. In Mexico they also have a female head of state, and she was sexually assaulted in the streets doing her work in the last couple of months.
Wow.
And there was a big debate in the media because she pressed charges. And there was a big debate about her power.
Right.
And about her position and how she's pressing charges. Like, come on.
That's right.
She is a woman in the workplace doing her job, getting sexually harassed.
That's right.
By a man.
Yeah.
In her workplace. And then she comes out and says, if a man's going to do that to the head of state of Mexico, what are women in my country living in it every day? And that is why I'm pressing charges, and that is why I'm taking this to court.
Good on her. Good on her. I had a little rant to my husband, poor old Andy, the other day about gendered violence. I don't know what we were talking about, but it ended with me yelling about how we should be, as women, we should be able to live our lives without the constant threat of being victimized or abused in some way, and that it's actually not okay, that we have to second guess every decision we make. We have to second guess whether we are going to be safe, and we have to put a safety plan in place about pretty much everything we do.
Yep.
Because of men. And it's not okay.
It's not okay.
So her standing up, I think that is just absolutely amazing, and I applaud her.
Me too. I think it's great. And I think, I don't know how Andy took that conversation, but it's a conversation I have often too. And I have a good husband, and I'm raising hopefully a good boy who's going to be a good man. That is my hope.
Sweet boy.
And I know it is not all men, but this is a man's problem.
Yeah.
This is not a woman's problem. And yes, there are very good men in this world.
Yeah.
And I have a dad who's a great man. I have a husband who's a good man. And I goddamn hope I'm raising this little boy to be a good man. But it is a man's problem. And fucking hell, do better. Do better, and don't leave it always up to women. And I know there are some really good male advocates out there, but fucking hell, why does it have to be women that are leading the charge to change this shit?
Yeah. And
it maddens me.
It's a great question to ask. It's been a question that's been asked a lot over there. Imagine how many times somebody has asked that. And I think we just need to keep asking it.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to keep being passionate about this subject, and we need to keep expecting to be safe.
Yes.
Like, honestly.
And if you're a good man listening, my tip to becoming a great man is to call it out. When your friends are casually sexist, when your friends are actually using coercive control and you see it, you hear it, you're told about it, call them out. Don't stay silent. So that's what distinguishes, for me, a good man from a great man.
Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree. Anyway. Are you all right?
Yep. Sorry.
Passionate topic. All right, let's talk about who actually came up with coercive control as a thing. We knew the name, and we kind of had to do a little bit of Google research, didn't we?
To find out the gender.
Yeah, because we don't know. So Evan Stark, he came out with the term coercive control in 2007. In his book, Coercive Control, How Men Entrap Women in Personal Life. And good on him. Good on him.
Great man.
So he's an American sociologist who died last year, actually. But I just think, thank goodness somebody, unfortunately it had to be a man, but that's okay. Somebody kind of came up with this concept and put a label or put a name to this cycle of violence that is so pervasive, but was also so confusing. And we've talked about how confusing it was for us as practitioners way back when.
Yes.
Yep. And it's amazing to have a label now, to be able to actually sit in a session with, and I've done this, God, so many times over the last few weeks, to be able to sit in a therapy session with somebody and actually tell them, this is what this is. This is what it's called.
Yes. And I kind of remember a few episodes ago you said about a supervisor, do you actually need to see this man hit this woman, or do you need to see a bruise?
Yeah.
And this is what is so enlightening about coercive control.
I agree.
It's not about bruises. This is about what sits underneath the iceberg.
Yeah.
The stuff that sometimes family and friends and practitioners get a glimpse into.
Yeah.
But this is patterns of behavior that perpetrators use to control their victims.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard, isn't it? It's so hard to, I think, when you're looking at isolated events, you can't label something as coercive control. You have to be able to put that pattern together. And you have to help somebody to put that pattern together so that they can see it for themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Because otherwise you just kind of get this feeling, don't you? This icky feeling about maybe this perpetrator says something in passing, and you kind of think, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. But then you're very quickly moved on,
yes.
And so you don't, I think as not someone I'm not talking about someone in the relationship, I'm talking about somebody who might be, kind of witnessing the relationship. You are so manipulated and groomed that you don't ever get a chance to stand still to think, okay, what's actually happening here?
Yes. I was with a woman a few weeks ago, and I wasn't providing therapy. I was doing an assessment. and was using a timeline to try and understand an aspect of her life. And it's interesting, the timeline started soon after she met this man. And so she meets this man, she's employed, she's got a driver's license, she has a car, she actually has her own home.
Right.
She's fairly independent. And then within the next 2 years, she's no longer driving. She's married now, no longer driving, is not going out regularly. Like, she was going out every Friday night and every Sunday, had patterns of regular social engagement.
Yeah.
2 years later, no longer going out seeing friends. 4 years later, actually no friends.
Wow.
No friends on the timeline. 2 years after that, no family events.
Oh, wow.
And so it was, it was really, really challenging space for this lady to be in. So I focused to start with on the driving.
Yeah.
Tell me about when you got your license. And she recalled how excited she was to get a license, how she bought her first car, told me the make and model, the colour, what the number plate was.
Yeah.
And then she meets this man and he starts just saying to her, "You're not a very good driver." Oh, you just almost went through that red light. Made her start self-doubting her capability.
Yeah.
Then, "You're not very good driver. I'll drive everywhere."
Yeah.
Then that goes on for a while to, "You actually don't need your license because you're a terrible driver. How about you go and hand it in?"
And I'm only thinking of you because one day you'll have an accident, and then how will you feel if you kill somebody?
And we want to have a family, is what she said. And you're not going to be very responsible driving our children around.
Wow.
So what she do? She hands in her license. She sells her car.
So she was kind of, it sounds like she was a young woman.
She was a very young woman, like just,
Wow.
late adolescence, very early adulthood.
Yeah.
Yep. Just had got a license and a car, meets this man within 2 years, no longer driving, and then the other, the friends start dwindling. There's always a problem with the friend in the timeline. Like, he doesn't like the way that she talks to his now wife. He doesn't like how this friend treats her husband.
Yeah.
All the excuses that she was just so able to tell me, because it's still part of how she frames and thinks about those friends too. Like, this was a long relationship, so deeply embedded in her, and the work that she has to do and has started to do to try and, one, understand coercive control, because she never labeled that relationship as domestic violence or coercive control. Like you said, talked about their great family life. I was like, tell me the great bits. Went on holidays.
Yeah.
He'd come home with presents, all that love bombing that you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
All of those, moments of family life where she was so like, but on these days or on these periods.
That's right.
And that's what we were then, because then we've got kids, that's what we'd hang on to if we could just make it last, or if we could just get back there, if we could just do what he needed, we would be, in that space. So bloody sad.
It's really sad.
And that relationship didn't end because there was acknowledgement or an awareness about coercive control. It ended for a different reason. And I think that's a complicating factor too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because if it ended because of the violence, this person actually you were talking to recognized that this is not okay, then that would have empowered the situation in some way.
Yes. But instead it ended in a very different way, and almost like there's now ambiguous loss about the relationship.
And we know from research, don't we, that when women leave relationships where coercive control is happening, violent relationships, they're actually more at risk of being.
And that period post-separation, if they can actually leave, is the most dangerous as well.
Yeah.
Leaving and being left and staying gone.
And post-separation.
So fucking dangerous.
And it's where the perpetrator usually ups the bombing, ups the ante, trying to regain control.
So dangerous.
So dangerous. And I just have to have such immense respect for the women who leave and then who remain left. Because I just think, wow, it would be so much easier to go back.
Yeah. And then you think, so this lady that I was working with, Jodie, she's in later life, I guess. Think about, what was the theme for this year? It's about technology, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so think about how technology now has come into place in the last 20 years and how coercive control has shaped and reformed itself using technology facilitated coercive control.
Yeah, absolutely. We should talk about that.
But before we do, what was the theme? How do I not know this? Do we not? Oh, it's Unite to End Digital Violence Against All Women and Girls, which highlights online abuse as a form of violence. So shall we talk about that for a bit?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So what is technology-facilitated coercive control? It's the use of digital technologies to coercively control current or former intimate partners.
Yeah. And I guess there's so much opportunity now to to track people, to stalk, track, to question every movement. Do you know what I mean? Because all those apps are available. You can go out and buy a little tracker and stick it under a car and no one would ever know.
An air tag.
Yeah.
Is that what, people put air tags in belongings or whatever, but they also put them on people.
They do. I have them in my suitcase when I travel. It's actually really cool. I can watch where my bag goes.
Why do you need to watch where your bag's going?
Well, because...
if your bag goes missing on holiday, shit happens, guys. Why are we so obsessed with controlling every aspect of our life?
I'm a little obsessed with knowing where my bag is. But I originally brought an air tag, actually, because I'm also a little obsessed with knowing where my dog is. And so I brought it for Ollie Dog. And then I realised he doesn't actually wear a collar or anything. I can't put it anywhere. So I'm like, well, what am I going to do?
What, are you going to, sew it into him?
No, I thought he'd have a little collar. Then I realised actually he doesn't have a collar and he's never had a collar.
Oh, see, I do not use family. Look, I don't use trackers and I'll tell you why. One, because in this line of work, I wonder about children that are raised in households where, yes, perpetrators are using coercive control and using technology facilitated, coercive control to track their women and their children.
Yep.
But I wonder, as those children grow up, what patterns are they then taking into their relationships? And what level of acceptance do children who have air trackers, who are, always on their phones or whatever, sharing their locations, what does it say then about the expectations of people knowing where you are? And then how do you recognize when you become an older person in relationships that actually this tracking is a form of abuse and it's not protective?
Well, I think that actually is a really good point. And I think that you tracking on its own, you probably wouldn't be a red flag. It would probably be something that's quite accepted because of what you're saying, the experience of using that technology. So on its own, it would be tricky to say, well, this is a form of coercive control. But we know that tracking devices, tracking a person, stalking a person is so much part of coercive control.
Yes. And other strategies used are harassment on social media. How many keyboard warriors are there, honestly? But harassment on social media, stalking using GPS data. And there are so many apps that provide location services or that you can find out where people are.
Yeah.
Monitoring email or accessing accounts without permission.
Yeah.
Audio or visually recording people.
Yes.
What's that first word?
Clandestine.
I don't even know what that is. Do you?
It means where it's not known.
So can't we just say that?
There's no permission given.
No permission given. So it's when we're secretly video recording someone visually.
Yeah.
Publishing private information, which is called doxing.
Yeah.
Or sexualized content without consent. And the non-consensual creation and or distribution of sexual images and videos. These are all strategies often used by current or former partners that use technology-facilitated strategies in coercive control.
Yeah. I was thinking it's not, I don't know. Maybe it is a form of coercive control, but it's not. But I was thinking about a relationship between a parent and a child where, when parents or foster carers put hidden cameras up in communal areas in the house, or not so hidden cameras. They're really open about these are our cameras, and then use the footage, weaponize the footage.
I would say that's absolutely
I'd say that's
coercive control
as well. Definitely.
And again, I have to ask, why the frig do you need cameras in your household?
Well,
that says a lot about the person putting the cameras up
Doesn't
to
it
me.
doesn't it say a lot about it? Yeah.
And it would make my, like, red flags be popping up all over the spot for me. Don't you think?
How many carer households have you heard of where they have cameras in the communal areas?
Let me tell you, how many carer households have you heard of? Because there's an allegation against them or a reportable conduct investigation going on. That's where you find them. And why is that? Because they're abusive.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's not rocket science, is it?
No.
If someone does something that's odd and the motivation for that behavior is not clear, they're hiding that motivation a little bit, or they're weaponizing the motivation, then it's a red flag.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little practice tip.
Just throw it in for good measure.
All right. All right, where are we going to now?
We want to talk about there's some evidence that suggests that certain client groups who experience social health and geographical disadvantage may be at greater risk of technology-facilitated coercive control and victimization.
I mean, I think there is a lot of research that says that those target groups are at greater risk, full stop, of being in domestic violence relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they are, well, women, but migrant women,
Yeah.
women in regional, rural and remote areas,
Yeah.
and women with disabilities.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you are right, Jodie, they are at risk of full stop everything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very, very at risk group of women. Which just makes me sad.
And then think about the intersectionality that could be occurring in those groups of women too. Like, if you're a migrant woman with a disability living in a remote area.
Imagine.
Fuck's sake.
Like, it's just, again, I'm just going to have one more tirade about this. It's just not okay that we as women have to put up with this ridiculous behavior from men in 2025, nearly 2026.
Yeah.
It's just not okay.
It's not okay that you can get up at 4:45 in the morning to go for a run and you hear a noise out the street and you look out and you think, I'm running alone today, so best not do that.
Yeah.
I've got to walk to my car from my workplace. Have I got my keys in my hand? Have I got a ponytail in? Because evidence suggests if you're wearing a ponytail, you're more likely to be assaulted. So I take my ponytail out and then I want to ring someone to talk. But then the evidence also says you're distracted and you're more likely to be assaulted if you're distracted. So then what the fuck are you doing? We're going to have to put an expletive on this episode.
But
what are you going to then do? Sprint to your car every day with your work bag because you're a woman?
That's right. Or what are you going to do? Change your own behaviour so you're not going to actually exercise outdoors if you're on your own because that's too scary and that actually puts you at risk. Like, it's just not okay. Okay. All right, let's talk about some of the patterns of behaviour that are in coercive control that really are intended to control, manipulate and destroy another person, basically. Because I guess, we've said this so many times already, it is about putting all those pieces of the puzzle together, not looking at things in an isolated way. So the first thing we need to talk about is about isolation. Your practice example, I think, was amazing at just really putting that personal kind of story to have what isolation looks like.
So, and it's, it doesn't just, it's not one day the perpetrator comes in and is cutting all of you. This is systematic. It's over time and it's an ongoing campaign to isolate you.
And it's insidious. It's this ongoing insidious conversation, communication about somebody important to you that erodes your trust in them.
Or makes you question them.
Yeah.
Or makes you unsure. But also, I can't have my friend in my house because my partner hates them, has said all these things about them.
Yeah.
And what's that going to look like? What's it going to feel like? So it starts off almost as a protective strategy, I think, for some victims. I won't bring them around because no good's going to come of that. But then again, it's then weaponized. Well, you could invite her over. Why don't you? Why don't you have Rose over, Jodie? I didn't say she couldn't come here. that's how it kind of starts and how it's then projected back as, well, you've made the decision not to have Rose in the home, not me.
Yeah.
Of course she can come here.
Yeah.
I don't fucking like the bitch, but sure she can come
Yeah.
here. But you decided not to have her here, not me.
Well, and she talks about you all the time. So I don't even know why you'd want to have her here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so manipulative, isn't it? It's so manipulative. And I think that stuff around isolation, you're right. Isolation at the beginning of the relationship will be very different to isolation as the relationship kind of develops. At the beginning, there's so much evidence, and people tell me this all the time, that they felt so safe. They felt so connected, and they felt like this person who they might have only just met, but they feel like this person actually wants to spend all their time with them, and how amazing that is.
Yes. And oftentimes I have heard as well, family and friends of the victim survivor, they are like, wow, this guy's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, he's really into Jodie, and he's so lovely. He's buying all these gifts and he wants to spend all this, like, friends and family really like this person, which is intentional, because then, you know what we are like as humans, we get a view and we are often very hard to shake initial views. So once we've determined this is a good guy, he loves her, it's then very hard to change that narrative. When we get information, it's true in practice, it's true in personal relationships, changing the narrative is more difficult than to, holy fucking shit, he's a perpetrator of DV.
Yeah. Yep.
So all of that is intentional from the perpetrator from the outset.
Absolutely.
This is not accidental. This is not unintentional. This is coercive control.
Yeah.
And it's systematic. It's intentional. It's
about making the victim survivor so dependent on the perpetrator that they will never, never question them.
Yeah.
It's really, really messed up. So on that, I think, is around micromanagement or regulation. It's around a household where every aspect of the victim survivor plus children, their lives are dictated, their lives are regulated.
Yes.
Every minute of the day is accounted for.
Every activity has to be approved by.
Yeah.
Every social outing, every invite has to be run by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What they wear, what we eat, who comes over to the house, when we can leave the house.
What leisure looks like.
Absolutely.
Often too, how tidy the home is. I have found victim survivors tell me about their expectations of them to maintain this level of almost show home likeness for the perpetrator, because it is about image, isn't it? It looks good.
Yeah,
it's part of that control too.
Oh, absolutely.
Micromanagement, but control.
Yeah.
Often, women talk about the need to having the home so clean.
Yeah. Yeah.
To the way he likes it.
Yeah, to the way he likes it.
Yes.
Absolutely. We need to make sure that we talk about economic abuse. So financial abuse. You know, women, make this gendered again, women who get an allowance to run the house.
It is gendered.
I know. But I was trying to say victim survivor for a bit, but I know. Women who might get an allowance, and that allowance actually isn't enough money.
No. And then
it's their fault when they can't cover all the costs to run the house.
What have you done with the money?
That's right.
I supplied the money.
Yeah.
What have you done?
Yeah.
Yeah. And think that lady I was talking about earlier in my practice example, she had a job at the start.
Yeah.
No longer worked.
Yeah.
Shut her independent bank account.
Yeah.
On this timeline, and then he's working. The money is in his name. The bank account is in his name.
Wow.
He's doling out money to her.
He's like a poster child for coercive control, this guy.
Absolutely. And I was sitting there, because you know what my face is like, thinking this, because I knew how the relationship ended. No one has labelled this as coercive control and domestic violence for this woman. This woman actually is telling me all of these events in her life, and she's questioning, why are we doing the timeline? Why are you asking about that? But has such good memory recall of shutting a bank account, having no money, being reliant every Tuesday, he would give her cash, she'd say, every Tuesday, and she'd have to pay all the bills, buy all the food, clothe the children, clothe him and clothe her, and he would have money left over to do his activities, to spend time with his friends at the pub, to, go to golf, whatever his activities were. And that was never questioned. But when she couldn't pay the bills, when the rates were in arrears, when the electricity was disconnected because she couldn't pay the electricity bill, when the kids didn't have the proper school uniforms to go to school.
Yeah.
All her fault.
What an absolute pig.
Well, that's a very nice way of putting it. Yep.
Well, it's because I don't want to swear that much, but honestly.
But, and this is how, and it's not dissimilar to other victim survivors that talk about, started by criticising the people she worked with.
Yeah.
Criticising her boss, who was a male.
Yeah.
Saying that they didn't value her,
Yeah.
that she was better than the company. We want to have children anyway, so you're going to give your job up anyway.
So just give it up now.
They don't deserve you. They don't value you. Imagine how much, better your life would be without having to go to work. We don't need to work. I make enough money. That is very clear in her timeline to when that started to when she decided to resign.
Wow. So it was all her choice.
It was her choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and restricting access to bank accounts is such a classic red flag, isn't it?
Yes, or using technology to transfer. I know some victims, survivors that will tell me that pay or the money would be deposited in, and within a minute you can see the withdrawal or the transfer out into another person's bank account.
Yeah.
So they have access to your online accounts, they know your passwords, and they transfer your money without your consent if you've got an income coming in.
I mean, it's part of that technology control.
Yeah.
Isn't it really? Yeah. I need to be the boss of every single thing.
Every single thing.
Oh, my goodness. Then we kind of move on to the psychological terror, the intimidation, the manipulation,
Threats against children and pets. We haven't talked much about pets, but there's... Ask anyone that works in Australia for the RSPCA or, council animal control.
Yeah.
How pets are often very much used, threatened and abused in domestic violence and with coercive control.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Weaponized because the person will love that pet.
Absolutely. And the pet is a threat to the perpetrator.
Absolutely.
So we have to get rid of it. Often you read in the media how often men also murder the women's pets.
Yeah.
Or abuse them, or surrender them, or let them out. Like there are so many, examples of how pets and children are used in psychological terror.
It's the constant criticism. It's the verbal abuse. It's the mocking.
The gaslighting.
But I think mocking is a good one because I don't think that is actually seen as a red flag. When you're kind of having a laugh at someone else's expense.
Yes.
And even though you know that they don't like it, in a normal relationship, someone would say, I don't really like it when you say that. And they'll be like, I'm really sorry. I won't do that again.
Won't do it again.
But in a relationship where there is coercive control, they'd be like, whoa, what's wrong with you? It's just a joke.
It's just a joke. And then oftentimes you hear, don't you, that the children are bought into that.
Yeah.
Isn't your mum? Don't you agree? Mum's this, mum's that. And then the kids are also oftentimes laughing too.
Yeah.
Because it is seen, you're right, that mocking is pretty dangerous and pretty soul destroying.
Yeah, mocking is huge.
Yeah.
Because it is just, it is just around, I'm so a lack of respect. I'm not respected in this environment. Actually, it's a joke. There must be something wrong with me. Why am I taking this so personally? Do you know what I mean?
Even my kids find it funny. Yeah. Why aren't I? Because it's intentional.
Yeah, because it's shit. That's why. Surveillance we've talked about before, kind of monitoring phone calls, monitoring interactions, monitoring physical whereabouts, kind of turning the home into, like a prison, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen you go out the ring cam. Where are you going? You didn't tell me you were leaving the house today. Who's that phone call from? Having access to your mobile phone and your password so they can check your messages.
So we always have to be thinking about the cumulative effect of those kind of red flag behaviours.
And putting them together, not seeing them as isolated.
It's the puzzle, putting the puzzle together.
Yeah, incidences.
Yeah.
Can see why it is like you need to be very skilled and why I have a level of apprehension around it, because there's so much to this picture. It is so multifaceted. It's so layered. And people that use coercive control are often so damn good at grooming.
Yeah, so good at it.
And I think it can be, an easy trap to walk into.
Yeah, because there's days, and we talked about this, the beginning of the relationship feels amazing, and there's days during the relationship which are amazing.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And so you try, we've talked about it before, it does become like a bit of a drug where you actually want that to happen.
Again. Yeah.
All right. We talked a little bit, I don't know, a couple episodes ago around when we talked about family law, around kind of some policy changes or some legislative changes that include coercive control as a crime. And I just wanted to quickly say again how good that is. Actually, whilst you have just horrified me with your Hannah Clark example of the police, horrified me. I'm hoping, Pollyanna again, I'm hoping that is not, I'm hoping that doesn't characterise the whole police force or the whole culture in that police force. I'm hoping it's isolated. I don't think it is. When you say that out loud, I think like any institution, there's going to be good people and there's going to be collective thinking that is really problematic and messed up.
Yes. And I guess one of the issues is if you look at statistically how many police officers are male.
Yeah.
And this is a man's problem, a male's problem. This is gender violence, and that's part of the problem too.
Yeah. And there's lots of, I can't remember, but I remember reading years ago when domestic violence really first started to be talked about out loud as an issue. Imagine that. There was lots of research, that's probably an exaggeration, maybe 1 or 2 studies, that I remember reading that talked about the impact on police officers of continually responding to domestic violence calls. And it would have been about something like physical abuse or something, or intimidation or threats. It wasn't about coercive control.
Okay.
But that would have been part of it, we know now. But it was about, this kind of concrete evidence of abuse that has happened. And about how when they constantly responded to say the same family and charges were not supported by the victim, just how that then impacted on the police's response the next time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And it does make sense. And I think part from those studies came the change then where they would use the body-worn cameras as the statement. They then wouldn't ask a victim survivor hours later to retell their story when the perpetrator had time to love bomb.
Yeah.
Or they were feeling so fucking unsafe and they knew it was more dangerous that they would return.
Yeah.
So that change happened. They could then use, the body-worn camera as evidence when they first entered a scene, which was also good. But I do take your point as a police officer responding day in, day out, because we know that this is a massive issue across the world. This is not isolated. This is not a small percentage of the population, and it's across cultures. It's across economic status.
Of course, yeah.
It's across everything. So I take the point that for police officers, a large percentage of their day is probably responding to domestic violence, and that would be quite taxing and wearing, especially if you're repeatedly going to the same homes and the same kind of cycles happening. Yeah. That would be wearing. But knowing why it happens, I think maybe could be helpful.
Could be so helpful.
More training for our police officers in domestic violence and coercive control.
Yeah. Well, and
something has to change.
I think more implementation of programs that actually take social workers out as well to respond to not every situation of domestic violence, of course, but surely you'd be able to kind of go, well, this has been the third call.
Yeah.
To be able to actually facilitate communication.
Yeah. I mean, there's some police initiatives in other countries where they take mental health workers with them to respond to mentally well people, and there's great evidence about how helpful that has been. So using what we know in other sectors and putting this in the domestic violence space, maybe, but also just fucking increase and make the bail laws tougher, people. Like, it also doesn't have to be about interventions from social workers. If we could just make the bail laws in Australia a bit more goddamn tougher for serious repeat offenders of domestic violence, then they wouldn't be on the streets able to kill women, would they?
No.
So there's another solution if anyone's asking for a solution.
Yeah. I feel like I want to be part of that police response.
Do you?
And you will too.
No, I don't actually think I would.
You wouldn't.
Oh, I think I don't know that I could maintain myself at the top of my ladder there.
No, you could. You'd be good at it. I've seen you in action. You'd be good at it. And I guess as a practitioner, when you're working with someone who has experienced such damaging abuse, you do have to, and I think, Rose, you said this at the beginning, you have to be so intentional in your responses, because the last thing you want to do is be controlling.
Yes, or to unintentionally send a signal that reaffirms, yes, this was your fault, or yes, you should do this, or no, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Because so much damage can be done if there's an unintentional message given.
Absolutely.
Or,
It's always about empowering. It's always about recognizing strengths. It's always about recognizing risks as well, but trying to do that in a way, it's like a balance, trying to do that in a way that's still empowering their sense of self.
Yes, and rebuilding that sense of self.
Yeah, rebuilding, that's right.
Yeah.
Because you can't go in there and go, yes, my God, you are at risk. Oh my God. What safety plans do you have in place? Blah, blah, blah. You need to talk about safety plans, of course, but you can't go in there and in my view, you can't go in there and be so deficit-based and so risk-averse that that's all you focus on.
No, you're right. You absolutely need to come from a strengths-based perspective and be very considered in your responses and your questioning.
Always.
See how skilled you have to be and how difficult it is?
I mean, it makes it's tricky for me at times, because I'm someone who likes to, I guess I'm not a therapist that kind of is what's the word I'm trying to look for?
Well, I'm not sure. What are we going to come up with?
Do you know, I'm not someone who kind of can sit there and just do that whole reflecting back constantly, that kind of active listening back. Like there comes a point in time where I'm over that. And so I sometimes can be quite directive. But when I'm working with victims of coercive control and domestic violence, I am not directive. I'm constantly reminding myself, you do not actually need to add to this person's trauma by being controlling of them right now.
Yeah.
Great
strategy to share.
Yeah.
Because I think working with victim survivors is very different than working with, kind of other clients that come in for different reasons. And you do need to be able to be considered, to be reflective, to be from a very strengths-based, and it's a slow pace, which I think maybe is it's part of the struggle as a therapist but it has to be self-directed and at their pace.
It does.
And if that is micromillimeters a year, that is the pace.
That is the pace. It is the pace. And there is something so powerful about those sessions I've had with numerous women, where you've kind of got to this point where you can label. And that session, you can see, is so powerful.
The lights just come on.
Yeah. And you describe what coercive control is. And they sit there and they say to me, oh my God, that's what I went through. Oh my God, that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to pace that. You have to get there. You can't rush that.
Yeah. Good strategies.
All right, let's wrap up.
Can we just talk about language before we wrap up?
Yes, please.
So Hawkins in 2001 said, language is not neutral. It is loaded with meaning.
Yeah.
It communicates to others how we as individuals and as representatives of an organization interpret, evaluate, and make sense. Being aware of the language we choose and the way in which we use it can be critical in determining whose view of reality we are accepting, what power relations we wish to reinforce, what kind of world we wish to adopt, and the type of social work we wish to create.
Yeah.
So when you consider that language is not neutral in a coercive control lens, there are ways in which that your language can either conceal violence, mutualize it, so sharing the responsibility,
Yeah.
minimize it, or
Yeah.
relieve the perpetrator of their responsibility.
Yeah.
Our language can victim blame or can make her mutually responsible for the violence,
Yeah.
which is common, but it should not be accepted.
I mean, I did that at the beginning of this conversation where I said a relationship characterized by domestic violence. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
I did that myself.
Yes.
And then had to catch
Had
myself.
to catch yourself. So I guess as a takeaway for practitioners listening, we just wanted to really highlight that when you are writing about coercive control or domestic violence, that you need to be clear about the violence and who's responsible for the violence.
Yeah.
You need to use language that reveals the deliberate and pattern nature of violence and abuse. Avoid words that mutualize violence or suggest consent.
Yeah.
Words like conflict, fight, and argument, that's not fucking coercive control and domestic violence. We all have conflict, we all fight, and we all argue. That is part of life. That is not coercive control. That is not domestic violence.
Yeah.
Avoid words like sex, intercourse, and other phrases that also eroticize violence or fail to identify who's using violence and who's been hurt by it.
Yeah.
Keep the acts of violence and the identity of the man who uses violence apparent in conversations and in all written documentation.
Yeah. I wish I knew this
20
years ago.
I agree. So, quick example. The relationship is characterized by domestic violence.
Yeah.
Don't write that.
No.
Write, Paul is violent towards Mary and he uses control tactics to scare, humiliate, and control Mary.
Yeah.
Don't say there's a violent relationship. Say, Paul hits, punches, and intimidates Mary.
Yeah.
Don't say there's violence in this relationship. Say this is family violence perpetrated by Paul.
Yeah.
Using that type of language verbally and writing it down in all your documentation is one way to ensure that we're not continuing the patterns that, come from the patriarchy, the patterns that exclude, responsibility, that minimize it, that justify it, that make it acceptable, the way in which police officers can tell a man how to fight an AVO and that women make up fucking DV allegations. Using language like this will put the responsibility where it needs to be, and that is with the man or the perpetrator who chooses to use coercive control and who chooses to use violence.
And it is a choice. It is a choice because there's a difference between an incident that is a reaction and it's an eruption and it's maybe physical in nature or verbal in nature. That's different to coercive control. It's not okay.
No,
it's still violence and it's still not okay, but that doesn't mean that there's coercive control in that relationship. But coercive control is that patterned, systematic choice to erode the well-being of somebody else. It's definitely a choice.
Yes.
Definitely a choice. And because these men are so good at manipulation and so good at grooming, I wonder about, I'm just going to put this out there, I don't want to start a whole new thing because we have to end, but I wonder about the effectiveness of relationship behavior courses because I think these men are going to sit there, say all the right things, do all the right things, have little jokes about women that the facilitators maybe think that's not okay, but it was just a joke. Do you know what I mean?
It's just one off. Well, he didn't mean it.
That's right.
He wouldn't do it again.
I don't think he meant what I heard. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I completely agree. It's just like couples counselling is not an appropriate intervention for coercive control and domestic violence. That is saying the responsibility sits with two people.
Yes.
If you are providing therapeutic interventions by way of counsels coupling to a couple where there is a perpetrator using domestic violence or coercive control, that is an inappropriate intervention.
And you might not know that at the beginning.
But once you know it, stop providing couples counselling because it's not okay. You're making the victim share the responsibility for his violence. And that is absolutely not okay. I will debate anyone on that. It is not okay.
No, it's not okay.
Stop doing it. I know that there are counsellors still doing that today. Stop it.
Do you know, I'm thinking of a person, another young, amazing woman that I see who has left a very violent relationship where there was actually non-lethal strangulation. That was the only physical element of the relationship. And so many people told her, oh, it was just something that happened during sex, or it was just, you know.
He's probably been watching a lot of porn, because we know porn these days is a lot of stimulation of strangulation. So we're probably minimizing it, saying he's watching porn and he's just reenacting what he's seen.
At the end, the reason she left is because he started to do that outside of the intimate relationship, and she realized, well, she didn't even realize it was violence. She thought, what if he loses control? But anyway, she has spoken a lot about her experience of couples counselling, and her counsellor who actually said to her in front of him, I think you're overreacting. I don't think there's anything.
Fuck, that makes me so mad, Jodie.
I don't think it's kind of real what you're saying, because so-and-so has a really different version of that event. It made me so mad too. And I was in therapy, and I had to be cool and calm and
professional. But inside, I bet your body was on fire like mine is right fucking
inside.
I want to burn the fucking practice to the ground.
Inside, I was like, can I ask who that was? Is it professional to ask who that was? Because I really want to know who that person is, because they are just so completely dangerous.
So on so many levels, individually, systemically, for that whole family system, for like women, Jesus fucking Christ.
And this is recent. This is last year or maybe the year before. So it's not like we're talking 20 years ago.
I know. And I have an example of this year where a counsellor has asked a victim survivor about something they did on a particular day, and the only reason they would have known that was from an individual session from the man. So now he's using you as a fucking vehicle to also control this lady. And that's this year. And my God, it does make me want to set something alight, because we cannot, that is not appropriate. It's not helpful.
No.
That is just not okay, guys. It's just not okay. Please do your intake and your screening better if you're a couples counsellor, or once you have maybe made an assessment that there is coercive control or domestic violence happening, don't continue the sessions.
No, name it for what it is.
Yes, give that woman some empowerment, some choice, some voice, and stop allowing the man to use your sessions as another way of reinforcing coercive control, another way of using a pattern of abuse that's stripping away a woman's freedom.
And I know when I just said name it for what it is, that might be contradictory to what I said before around taking it slow and not labeling until they're ready.
We're talking about in a therapeutic relationship with a woman.
I was.
This is in the context of telling the perpetrator.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, because that sounds a little contradictory, but yes. All right.
So just to make sure we've covered this, coercive control is a violation of human rights and dignity. And by focusing on the patterns of abuse that strip away freedom, we can provide more effective, compassionate, and life-saving interventions for survivors.
Yeah.
Any work in coercive control and domestic violence demands our commitment, expertise, skills, understanding, and courage.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, thank you so much for joining us with this conversation. If this episode has raised any issues for you, please reach out to the following services if you're in Australia. I mean, you can contact 1-800-RESPECT for free confidential counselling. They're available 24/7. Men who are concerned about their own use of violence can contact the Men's Referral Service on 1300-766-491. And sorry, the number for 1-800-RESPECT is 1-800-737-732. And I guess if you're listening to this from a different country, I mean, how cool is that? But yeah, you'll have your own telephone services that you can find.
Hopefully, unless you're in America and Trump's already stripped all those services dry because women don't need support services, but maybe your neighbours in Canada and Mexico may be able to assist you, or online services in other countries.
All right, Rose and I are going to take a deep breath. Okay. All right. So this brings us to the end of another episode of Relational Practice, a Social Work podcast. We hope today's discussion was valuable for your practice.
To ensure you're always in the loop, please follow our podcast. Your subscription and social media engagement helps us build our community and helps get these conversations that we think are really important, helps them get them out, makes them more accessible to other practitioners, which is really our aim.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on obviously what was a very passionate topic for us, but a really important conversation that we need to continue to have, not just because there's 16 days of activism happening right now.
No.
Conversations about coercive control, domestic and family violence need to happen more often because we've shared that our skills and our knowledge, has dramatically changed over our time in practicing, and we want to continue to evolve and to learn more and understand more so we can be the best practitioners for our victim survivors.
Yeah, absolutely. And just being able to support someone through ending this relationship, leaving this relationship, regaining their life is just so valuable. And I see it as such I just see it as such an important therapeutic or just an important intervention.
Yeah, absolutely is.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Stay safe and remember to always practice relationally.
See you later. Bye.